everybody. Welcome to the Agency Side podcast. I'm here with Brian Worsley, and he is an exciting guest I've been eager to speak with. He's been SVP at Warner Brothers, VP at Concept Arts. He's been a professor in a college, and is currently working in minor league baseball. So super excited to have Brian here on the show. Thanks for being here today, Brian.
Thanks for having me, Justin.
Yeah. So without further ado, let's get into it. Because we are like a creative, we're focused mostly on creative agencies. I guess the first question I'd like to ask you is, how did you started in the studio side before you went agency, I guess, right? Am I correct about that?
Yeah. Yep. Started at Warner Brothers.
So maybe it's actually a better idea to start there. How did you get into this particular space? How did you get into it?
Into marketing in general? It's a long story. I don't know how much time you've got for this podcast, but originally I wasn't planning on getting into marketing. I graduated from the University of Miami, went to film school there. I moved out to LA with dreams of being a writer. And as most people do, started as a PA in reality television and just started meeting people and networking with people and found my way at Warner Brothers in physical production, which segued a job as an assistant in marketing, where I then stayed for the next 15 years. So I think as most things go with careers in LA, it's not always the initial thing that you're going out there for, but just by happenstance and the people that I met along the way, I wound up in marketing. Now, that's not to say that I didn't have a desire or a knowledge of what went into marketing. I actually had in college, I had a professor, Fred Goldberg, who was the head of marketing at United Artists, MGM. And I took 2 of his classes. I mean, he did all the early James Bond movies. He did Rocky. He did One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And in his class, I didn't really know that was a job, to be honest. So I credit him and his class to kind of piquing my interest into the marketing, which kind of opened the door.
Yeah, that's cool. When you originally went as a writer, what was your aspirations on that front?
Just write my own stuff, sell my own stuff. I had been, working on some things with some friends of mine, writing on my own stuff. And, every now and then you'd get excited because you thought you had a bite at something, or somebody thought they could sell something. And so it was an interesting road.
Yeah, it is true. Everybody kind of goes, you come in with a certain vision, and then, you get into LA and it kind of goes and it can go in many different places. I know for me, I went out obviously for a dream in music when I went to LA. And I found that I, as an independent artist, I was always like self-submitting myself and pitching myself and self-representing myself, whether it's trying to find, an agent or whoever, somebody who could review my work, anybody that could help me. And so I ended up kind of refining my skills as the person that can pitch other people. And that sort of worked well in recruitment, because that is essentially the job. You're selling people. And actually I find I enjoy selling other people typically more than myself. It's just it's a better vibe. But yeah, man. So you spent a lot of time at UB and then kind of pivoted into the agency space. I know a lot of people I talk to really, we talk about studio side, agency side all the time, and like the differences, and people that are on agencies want to be in studios. People in studios want to be in agencies. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about just what the difference is.
To be honest with you, I mean, when I was on the studio side, you get a version 1 back from a vendor. You don't realize the amount of work that went into that version 1, right? We're seeing a version 1 for the first time, but when you're on the agency side, sometimes that's like an in-house V5, V6, like the amount of work that goes into something to then get it out the door to send to the studio. It's like, for me, that was the biggest eye-opening thing. I mean, I kind of naively thought that, editors just nailed it on the first attempt. Some of them do, but, a lot of work goes into getting that version 1 out to the studios. And one of my mentors and early bosses, Massi Rafani, once told me, if you don't love the revision process, get out of the industry. So I quickly learned to embrace that aspect of it. And I think that, getting notes, adapting to what, the studio wants. When you came from the studio side, you were the one that was setting the strategy for the campaign, right? Now you're taking the direction from the studio. You're not in on those conversations. You don't know all the ins and outs and the whys. You're just kind of trying to help solve a problem on the agency side.
Yeah, it's like that old quote, right? Like I would have written a shorter speech if I had the time. It's like, the editing and the revising of everything is really like, it is it's not the easy part for sure. Did you find that you were still like really like kind to the vendors, in terms of like when they would present you something and it needed a lot of work? How was your vibe on that side? Were you sort of like, make this, the way I want it, or how do you express that you want something changed in a delicate way, or maybe you don't want to do it in a delicate way?
I think a delicate way is kind of my MO, and me trying to be a personable, polite person. I think is what I've always tried to do. I always tried to give notes. If I didn't know how to solve it myself, I kind of, just told them that I don't know what to do with this really, and which is the hardest part. That's the hardest thing, to get a cut and really not know what to do with it. You always feel like you can change something, but sometimes it's tough. It is one of the toughest things to do, and I think that's why it's important to have a lot of great collaborators around you, have a lot of great people around you that you trust creatively to help, get you direction on things. I mean, I was fortunate enough, when I was an SVP at Warner Brothers, to have a great team of other creative execs around me. I mean, from Massey Rafani to John Stanford, Mike Jones, Amanda Edwards, like those are some really talented people. Those are some really talented people. And I could go into their offices and be like, hey, I'm stuck here. I got this cut. Can you guys take a look at this and tell me what you think? And, they were always great to do that. But yeah, I mean, I always tried to, be polite, be kind back to the agents. And I like that now. I hope it's reciprocal, and I hope it's done well for me.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Did you have people that were cutting as well, working on it on the studio side too, or was it just sort of the agencies that were physically cutting?
No, strictly the agency side. I mean, I don't think you want people on. Well, Warner Brothers didn't have an in-house agency like some of the studios do. So yeah, we didn't have that there.
Interesting. Cool. And yeah, maybe you can tell me how you got involved into working in the creative agency spot, and how did that whole thing happen?
Sure. Well, when I left Warner Brothers during the pandemic, and moved back to Michigan for my family, and to kind of see my kids through high school here during that time. And I really didn't know what I was going to be doing. I mean, I attribute to kind of what I'm doing a little bit like Forrest Gump. I've had these interesting jobs, entertainment. I went and worked with Virgin Galactic with Blair Rich for a while, which was awesome. And got a call from Aaron Michelson out of the blue, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And like, "I'm doing this. I'm teaching. I love teaching." And he's like, "Well, what do you think about coming back to the agencies?" I really didn't think I would ever go on that side, and I told Aaron, I'm like, for you, yes. I said, there's not a lot of people that I would do it for, but for you, yes. And I was with him for 2 years until baseball called. And I've always had two loves in my life, before I got married and before kids, of course, but baseball and movies. And baseball came calling, and I thought that would be a great opportunity to just, see what that was like, and that experience. And it's been great. And then I blame you for calling me again and seeing how it was going, what I'm doing and up to, and kind of got those creative juices flowing again. And you miss the people. Look, I worked in the industry for 17 years, and I made a lot of great friends. I worked with a lot of great people and creative people, and you miss that. You kind of miss the rush, and you miss the competitive nature of, the business. And it started to say, hey, but what if I can have my cake and eat it too? What if I can do this
Yeah.
and do that at the same time? And it's it's a balance for sure, but I'm passionate about both, and I put 100% into both, and I I'm enjoying it. So I'm back at Concept Arts. I'm doing some consulting for them, and we'll see where it goes, one day at a time.
Yeah, no, that's so cool that you're, you know, not everything's a monolith. It's like, I like to play music and I like to recruit and I also really like baseball. So it's interesting to talk to you. Right now I'm in Vermont, so we have the Vermont Lake Monsters out here in Centennial Field, which I believe is the oldest minor league ballpark in the country, I think. I mean, don't quote me on it officially, but I believe that is true. And I'm a huge baseball fan. I love minor league baseball. It's great. We used to have the Montreal Expos that my family used to go to when I was young. Unfortunately, they had, I think, issues with the dome and attendance, and that no longer that isn't here anymore. But I love baseball. And I was wondering, did you actually play yourself, or was it just a passion?
No, I played through high school. So always played all summer long, and just loved it. My brothers played, and just something we always did. The summers we were in the backyard playing wiffle ball, and went to our grandparents' house on the weekend. We're playing, baseball in the yard with our cousins. It's just something I grew up doing and loving.
Yeah, same for me. I just love doing it. My dad coached my little league team because they didn't give me a chance to pitch on the team I had been in the year before. So he figured, hey, if I coach this team, I can get my kid out there. And that I got, my opportunity to pitch. And that was a really important thing. I always think about that with my dad. Then I remember I was throwing too hard for him when he started getting older because my dad was a bit of an older dad. And I remember just like throwing fastballs and he'd miss them and they'd hit the house and they'd knock the siding off the house. He'd get so mad at me. He'd try to get me to like slow it down. And that was in the year where they made those baseballs. It was right in the beginning where I don't think they're that accurate, but you could tap them, reset it, and then you could throw the ball and see how fast you could throw it.
Yep.
And at that point in my life, I was just like, I just want to rear back and throw this thing as hard as I possibly can. I don't care where it goes. I just want to hear it. I want to hear it whistling and hit that glove or hit that house.
Right.
But yeah, man, I'm a huge baseball fan. I think that's something that makes me competitive in the recruitment world. And I just love the resilience of it because it's just like, you think about it, like a great hitter, like a good hitter, right, is like a 250, 300 hitter. Like that is like failing, 7 out of 10 times you're not achieving what you want to do. And that's like, and to get back up there and to do it again over and over. And it's a long season and nobody's bodies are feeling good, especially these guys that are playing in late October now. I'm sure, everybody feels, twice their age out there, but,
Kind of like it's really like getting a trailer to finish is what it sounds like.
yeah, you got to be a glutton for it, but when you finally get that trailer, you finally get that hit. I think it's really worth it. I'm also a movie fan too. Do you like baseball movies? Do you like to combine your two passions at all, how do you feel about
Yeah,
that?
yes and no. I mean, I love Major League, but I can't say I love a lot of other baseball movies. I mean, a lot of people like The Natural. It's a good movie, but I'd go for Major League before I went natural. Just
Yeah, Willie Mays
I don't know.
Hayes,
I
baby.
like my movies about other things.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Cool, man. Well, yeah, I was excited to speak with you because I knew we have a lot of commonalities with the arts and the baseball. Do you find doing your job in Michigan, in terms of doing the creative stuff remotely, has that ever been problematic, or do you still feel pretty connected with the industry where you are?
Still feel pretty connected. It's, at first it was getting adjusted to the time change. We're on, Eastern time. So at first it was, getting used to that. But no, overall, I think, with technology as it is, we're pretty connected. Do I miss sitting in the bay sometimes? Yeah, that was always a cool place to generate ideas and get things done quickly. But no, I still feel connected. My son moved back out to California, so I'm making more trips than I would have back out there to see him. So gives me an excuse.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Are there any, I mean, I guess the question I would also want to ask you is how do you feel like, what's your outlook on the future a little bit in terms of the creative agency space? Are you feeling like, this is the question that people just ask me all the time. They're like, well, Justin, how do you see it out there? And I'm always like, well, I don't have a crystal ball, but I have like feelings and ideas of where things could be going. Are you feeling positive about, but in the new year, or what's your take?
Yeah, I think so. It feels like things are opening up a little bit more, getting a little bit busier. Also trying to look outside of the theatrical space too. Like what other options are there? What other things need creative eyes on them? Who needs work? So yeah, I'm feeling positive about it.
Yeah. What do you think the keys are going to be for like, for creative agencies to survive? Is there any specific thing that you think that they can do, whether it's like diversification, which maybe you were kind of alluding to a little bit, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think that's the nail on the head, right? I don't think you can, you know, uh, focus on one thing anymore. I think you need to be diverse in what you do. And, it helps like a company like Concept, with the print and digital and social and brand. It's a 360 agency. There's a lot to offer there. And, when one's down, the other's up, and it's not relying on one thing, and it's, kind of all hands on deck thing that, it it helps.
Yeah. Have you been in over the years involved in like a lot of the hiring process? I mean, I guess if you've been an SVP at a lot of these places, I'm guessing you have. But curious, just from a recruiter's point of view, I'm always interested in hearing what leaders, what you view in the hiring process, how you view talent and what's important to you when you're hiring people.
I think first and foremost, it's collaboration and a good person. It's like I look at somebody, you're going to spend a lot of hours with these people working, and the last thing you want is someone who's not a team player, has a bad attitude. Or it's tough if they're very talented, because
Totally.
maybe you can have one of those in the shop, but I, I think just people that you work well with. I mean, there's so many creative people out there. Everyone's is in this business for a reason. So the margin on whether or not this person's more creative than another is, I think first and foremost, are you a good person? Are you a good person to work with? Are you a team player? Do you think in a way of, sometimes differently, right? It's like I can come to the table with one view of things, and so I want somebody who takes a look at things a little bit differently too, right? You need that in an agency. You don't want people who all think alike. You need the different approaches to everything.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. Is there any particular projects that you've been on over the years that you're maybe very proud of that I guess maybe had that sort of collaborative feel to it?
Yeah, I mean, so just for my own, I have a lot when I used to work with Massey Rafani at Warner Brothers, is because Massey got all these great titles that we worked on, and the 9 years I spent with him was more the teaching hospital than anything, and it was fantastic. I mean, he worked on such amazing projects during that time. But specifically speaking of my own titles, when I had my own, the Meg was a fun project that I worked on at Trailer Park with Mike Davis, who I love. Mike also cut the trailer for me for Pokemon Detective Pikachu, and then I'd say my one of my favorites was a cut I had done with Open Road and Colin over there for Judas and the Black Messiah for the teaser trailer. I was really proud of that one, and just the collaborative work that went into that, and the whole team over there at Open Road.
Yeah, that's super cool. What are some of the pictures that you have on? I know people who are listening to the audio here are not going to see the pictures, but curious what some of those pictures behind you are.
Oh, well, I'm actually at the baseball stadium today, so I couldn't. I think it's a lot of the designs from the city and some of the construction work that was done. So I'm not quite sure, but
Nice.
going on.
And what is the team that you're currently working for now, and what's your role with them?
So I work for the Great Lakes Loons, and we are actually a high A affiliate of the Los Angeles Dodgers. So go figure, I moved to Michigan
Cool.
and still have the LA connection here. Um,
Yeah.
and I am the assistant GM of marketing and entertainment. So all things marketing, promotions, communication, content here for the Loons. We're in our off season right now, and the field is completely ripped up and being redone right now. So
Nice. Any notable major leaguers come out of your team?
Clayton Kershaw. Clayton Kershaw was
Oh,
one of the original Loons in 2009. Corey Seager
wow.
also played here.
Wow.
We've got four guys I think on the Dodgers right now in the World Series, and then one of the there's a player on the Yankees who was actually a Loon, Alex Verdugo, who played for the Loons. So
Wow. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, so what is your day-to-day kind of looking like in terms of like marketing for the team, and what's sort of your goals there?
it's just off season, a lot of off season planning right now. Getting 2025 plans underway of what the nights are. I don't know if you've been to a minor league baseball stadium before, but it's pretty crazy with the theme nights. I mean, we do everything from Star Wars nights to Bluey at the ballpark to True Crime night. So it's fun. There's a lot of things. We've got 66 home games, so trying to theme all of those out and what kind of entertainment we're going to have. And then just things like renewing ticket packages and getting new fans in. So a lot of work goes into the off season without the games.
Yeah, where's the closest major league park to you?
Comerica Park, where the Tigers play.
Oh
They're
yeah,
about
that makes sense,
yeah, they're
especially.
about 2 hours south of us. Yep.
That's pretty cool. Awesome. Yeah, here in Vermont, the closest we have now is probably the Red Sox in the Boston. But yeah, been to City Field a few times to see the Mets. I'm sure they're not happy right now with watching the World Series from home. It looks like the Dodgers are going to win it here. I don't want to don't
Don't
want to
jinx it.
get ahead of myself, but it's feeling
Yep.
pretty good. I'm an Atlanta Braves fan myself. I grew up. Ted Turner had the genius of putting TBS on all the stations everywhere, and in the '90s when you have Glavine, Maddox, Smoltz, Avery, and you want to be a pitcher, they're your idols. You just watch them forever, and here I am at 40, and I'm still watching them. And I don't live anywhere near Atlanta, which is just
No,
insane.
that was the same as us growing up. If we weren't watching the Tigers game, we were watching the Braves on TBS. My older brother was a huge Braves fan, Greg Maddux
Yeah.
fan. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy was an artist. I mean, for us, it's like you had Nesson and you had TBS in Vermont, and back then the Red Sox were terrible. So it's like you're either going to watch Channel 10, you're going to watch the Red Sox get demolished, or you watch Channel 11, you're going to see Dave Justice and Fred McGriff, and you're going to see a lot of home runs and excitement. I know the game has changed, but in my day, I really enjoyed watching the pitchers hit, you know, and the Braves somehow figured out how to get those guys to hit well. I don't know if you remember that commercial. It was a great
Stick
commercial
long
where
ball.
Tom Chick dig the long ball. Yeah. And that was so clever. And they were actually pretty good hitters.
Yeah, they were great hitters, all of them. I remember even there was a guy, Steve Avery. I don't remember him, but he could
Yep.
also hit really well. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, man, I love baseball, and now honestly, when the season's over, I start getting the blues a little bit. My dad calls it sort of like the abyss because he doesn't like basketball and football, and it's just like waiting all the way till March until you start seeing it on the TV. But I'll try to keep my spirits up here until the season comes back. But yeah, man, I really want to thank you for hopping on here and chatting with me. Um, I've been really interested in hearing your story and thanks for coming on.
No, thanks for having me. I just know it's an eclectic resume. You asked me to fill out my titles. I was like, okay, well, I'm doing this and this and this and teaching at the same time. So there's a lot going on, but it's all good. It's like I said, I'm always open for a good experience and trying the new things. And I just have been blessed to have these opportunities and kind of take on a lot of different things and that I'm passionate about. And so in a good place right now.
Yeah, well, reputation is everything. I talk to people like it's going out of style. That's my job. You are, everyone that I've spoken to that has mentioned you has mentioned how awesome you are, which is just like, you don't get that from everybody. When you talk to people, always like, oh, this guy is something, I don't like this. Like, an amazing amount of people have said amazing things about you. So whatever you've been doing throughout your career, it's been terrific, because I can't hear any better of things about you. So I was excited to talk to you, because I knew you were a great guy, because great people have told me you're a great guy. And yeah, I just want to thank you again for hopping on here. And yeah, maybe in the future we can get you back on and grill you some more.
Yeah, who knows what will be happening then? And in the meantime, if you ever here in Michigan, you should come check out the ballpark. It's a beautiful ballpark, and uh, take on one of our theme nights. It'll be fun.
I'd love it, Brian. All right, man. We'll appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much for
All right,
being on.
thanks, Justin.
All right. Bye.